your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
I keep the leader when the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Said I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. And if I share with you my story, would you share your dollar with me? Bad times are coming and I reap what I done sowed. Hey, hey. Well, let me tell you something, all that glitters ain't gold. It's been a long old troublesome road, and I'm looking for somebody come and help me carry this load. I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need. Hey, hey. Well, I need a dollar, 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 that's what I need.
KBLA Talk 1580. It is Freedmen Friday around here. We do this second hour of the show every single week. And today I am really honored and super excited to talk with our guest. She's a civil and human rights attorney, a scholar, activist, and author, president of the Reparation Education Project and the Taifa Group, serves as a senior fellow at the Center of Justice at Columbia University, and she is a founding member of the National Coalition of Blacks for Reparations in America. Attorney Nkechi Taifa, welcome.
I'm so glad to be with you again, Dominique. How are you?
I'm blessed, and I'm really happy to have you in, especially at this moment. How are you doing?
I'm doing good, but let me tell you, it's busy, busy, busy.
I know it is. Thank you for carving a little time out for us today. I really appreciate it. Or a lot of time, I should say. I appreciate it. So let's cut right to the chase then, shall we? The United Nations has passed a resolution naming slavery as the gravest of human rights, breaches, and calling for reparations. This is a big deal, right?
It's absolutely profound. It really is. And it happened on on March the 25th, a day that's globally recognized as the International Day of Remembrance for the victims of the transatlantic slave trade, et cetera, et cetera. So it was very historic that it happened on that day. It was very historic that there was an overwhelming vote of 123 countries in support, 52 abstaining, and only three voting against the declaration that the transatlantic trafficking in human beings and racialized chattel enslavement is the gravest crime against humanity. That is profound. And I was thrilled to be a witness to what was happening over those 2 days several weeks ago.
So when you say a witness, what did you see? I mean, what did you see that we might not have seen in that process?
Well, the process didn't just begin. The process has been going on really for a while. But on that day, the day before the 25th, on the 24th, I stood on sacred ground at the African Burial Ground in New York City as part of an official wreath-laying ceremony where His Excellency President John Dramani Mahama of the Republic of Ghana delivered a powerful keynote. He was flanked by national and local leaders. Later that afternoon, I was present inside the United Nations at a high-level special event on reparatory justice, again hearing directly from the president and other luminaries. And then on March 25th, the day of the historic vote, because I don't represent a country, we were not in the United Nations, but we organized and coordinated a global watch party witnessing the proceedings undergo in real time. This was a 6-hour watch party because after the official vote, we also had a global webinar where persons from the African Union, from CARICOM, from Brazil, from the UK, and from the United States, myself, talked about our reflections on the vote.
You mentioned that this is a long process. It's not like the president of Ghana just popped up and said, "Hey, I got an idea today." Like, I understand that.
Right.
There's a lot of lobbying, I would imagine, and all kinds of education that has to go on. What's your impression of how minds are changing, how people are coming to understand and embrace reparations, or is that happening at all when we talk about the international vote? Because so many voted in favor of this resolution.
Oh, yes, it's absolutely happening. In fact, last year, before the United Nations General Assembly in September of last year, the president of Ghana, who actually for the past couple of years has been named as the African Union's champion on reparations. So he wasn't just speaking for Ghana, he was speaking for the African Union. But he announced to the General Assembly last year that he was going to be what's called tabling this resolution this year, i.e. in March. And what he has done in the interim period of time has gone around the globe, educating countries with respect to the specifics, educating them as to why this is the gravest and why they should go along and support the resolution. He was able to secure in advance the unanimous consent of the African Union. He was able to achieve in advance the unanimous consent of CARICOM, which is the coalition of Caribbean nations. He got the consent of Brazil. You know, he was going around the globe, so that when it came to a couple of weeks ago, March 25th, there already was a strong coalition in support. Now, I will say it did take education because I'm just saying there was dissent in terms of the language. Well, you know, can we say this is the gravest or the greatest? Wouldn't that serve to make it such that the declaration would not pass? Even I, Miss Black Nationalist, Pan-Africanist Revolutionary, was questioning, is this the tack we should take? You know who's going to be coming up in opposition. You know other groups are going to say, no, that wasn't the gravest, But he stood firm, and I can only admire that stance because it played out 100% correctly, because it wasn't a term that was just plucked out of the sky, Dominique. The declaration came with very, very specific documentation, calling this transatlantic trafficking and chattelized human enslavement as world-breaking and world-defining. I mean, laid the foundation for modern capitalism, produced massive wealth gaps, generational trauma. There was a study not too long ago done of second and third generation Holocaust survivors. And those studies found that those children, the descendants of those who suffered through the Holocaust, were suffering epigenetic injury, as a result of that. They passed on down through the genes. And when you think about the generations, the centuries of terror that Black people experienced, and you begin to wonder, that went on for generations, I'm not going to say just for, a decade or whatever, but generations. It really makes you begin to wonder. So again, the evidence was there, the votes were there, and I will say, under another U.S. presidency or another, in another time, those 52 nations that voted to abstain very well probably would have voted no alongside the United States, Israel, and Argentina, but they did not, which shows to me that we are entering a new international world regime, a new world order where countries are not going to automatically just walk lockstep with the United States. U.S., Israel, Argentina stood out as an island amongst the overwhelming 123 votes in support, as well as the 52 votes that abstained. So there was a lot of education that went on. And if you actually see the actual text of the Declaration, it really, there's no question. We just have not had the education. You know, we have not had the evidence laid out as specifically in one piece before the international community, the United Nations, before. Now, I will say this. 25 years ago, in South Africa, Durban, South Africa, there was something called the World Conference Against Racism.
I remember.
And out of that conference, yes, out of that conference came what's called the Durban Declaration and Program of Action, which characterized the transatlantic trafficking in human beings as a crime against humanity. The United States walked out, and no one remembered even that declaration at that time because 9/11 happened on the same day. So everything was totally and completely overshadowed. So come back 25 years later, not in South Africa, not at a conference, but on the floor of the General Assembly of the United Nations. We're talking about a new world order right now.
Ah, wow. When you put it that way, it's very, very interesting in terms of just the implications. Attorney Nkechi Taifa is my guest, and you're listening to a Freedmen Friday on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-242-1551. That's 800-242-1551. 800-242-1551.
Are you drowning in IRS tax debt? Angela was. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $80,000. Felicia was having health problems, got behind on her taxes, interest and penalties were adding up. She called Civic Tax Relief and saved over $15,000. Civic Tax Relief is a professional tax negotiation firm that can protect you from the IRS. If you're getting collection letters, call Civic Tax Relief for a free consultation. They will go to work helping you discover all the relief programs you may qualify for free. James owed the IRS $37,000. Civic Tax Relief represented him against the IRS, and by the time everything was completed, he did not owe the IRS anything. If you are in trouble with the IRS, call Civic Tax Relief for your free consultation now. 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257. Get a free consultation and real tax relief. Call 800-200-2257. 800-200-2257.
Carpal tunnel syndrome. Heart failure that doesn't improve with common medicines. These are some signs and symptoms associated with ATTR-CM, or the cardiomyopathy of ATTR amyloidosis, a serious heart condition with symptoms that get worse over time. Amvuttra, vutrisiran, is a prescription medicine given by a healthcare provider that treats ATTR-CM in adults to reduce heart-related death, hospital stays, and urgent visits. In a clinical study, Amvuttra was proven to help people live longer and have fewer heart-related hospital stays and urgent visits over 3 years compared to placebo. Amvuttra lowers the amount of vitamin A in your blood, which can affect vision. Other side effects include pain in the arms or legs, pain in the joints, and shortness of breath. These are not all the possible side effects of Amvuttra. For prescribing information, call 1-833-256-2748 or learn more at amvuttra.com. Ask your doctor about Amvuttra for ATTRCM.
The conversation continues right now with Dominic DePrima on First Things First.
Talking with attorney Nkechi Taifa, who has been a long-time reparations activist, and we're just focusing on this resolution that was passed by the UN on March 25th. And I think about people like Charles Ogletree. I think about people like Mr. Peoples. I think even about people going further back than that. And also folks like yourself who have been working on reparations for decades. Did you ever think you would see this day?
To tell you the absolute truth, I never thought I would see the type of momentum that we've seen since 2020 on this issue. I've been working on this issue since I was like a teenager, and I ain't going to tell you how many decades ago that was. And to see the momentum that's going on, not only just across the country, but across the world on this issue. I mean, I never thought I'd see a black president. So, I mean, I'm just saying, you can never say never say never. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But what is not surprising is the U.S. Vote. That was not surprising. Dan Negria, I can't even pronounce his name, but his last name is Negria, but representative to the UN ECOSOC from the U.S., some kind of deputy ambassador, he voted against on behalf of the United States. And the reason, the funny thing about it is President Trump statedly disavowed anything to do with the United Nations, said it should be disbanded and all like that. So I'm saying, why you want to come up there on the floor and even speak then if you don't even believe in it? But basically what the United States was saying, the United States and some of the European, the EU and the UK who abstained was that they felt that the gravest crime designation, they could not go along with it. But what the resolution, what the declaration basically was saying was that this is not about hierarchy. It's not about whose crime is bigger than the other. It is about historical accuracy. And again, as I said, the language of the resolution itself makes this, undeniable. Talking about world-breaking and world-defining, talking about systematic, widespread regime of violence, exploitation, dehumanization, talked about the gender nature, including sexual violence and forced reproduction, the enduring global consequences. I mean, it just goes on. And again, I feel that the U.S. vote was morally indefensible and really historically revealing as a stark reminder that the resistance to reparations is not about lack of evidence. The evidence is there. It is about the lack of political will. And we see now as the world, the overwhelming majority of the world, particularly the global South, is advancing toward truth and accountability. The United States remains entrenched in denial. So,
I mean, it's the same thing we see in Gaza. It's the same thing. They want us to believe the line and the talking points rather than what we see, what the evidence bears out. And I was horrified by the U.S. arguments, including this idea that we shouldn't give reparations to people who are distantly related to these harms, or as Trump would say, the babies of slaves. Well, the babies of slaves want our reparations.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The babies of the enslaved and the babies of those babies and the babies of those babies.
Yeah.
Like I said, all of this is transmitted intergenerationally, there is an unbroken line between the enslavement era and the Jim Crow apartheid segregation era and the redlining and the wealth gap and the housing disparities and the health inequities and the educational deficiencies and the punishment system, and what I call the lack of self-determination. It's an unbroken line, an unbroken chain, and it's past time that it be recognized.
You said you've been really busy since this resolution passed. I know you're always really busy, but what of your busyness is coming out of this? What's the aftermath for you, Attorney Nkechi Taifa?
Well, coming out of this, I would say, we don't want to be isolated, right here in the United States. And it is unfortunate, I would say, that many people internationally see us as being represented by the government that we live under. Okay, but many of us do not go along with the policies and practices of the U.S. Government, but we are not recognized as a people in and of ourselves. We're not a sovereign people, and the like. And so as a result, we get swooped up in the minds of folk with the official policies and practices of the United States. And nothing can be further from the truth. I mean, you mentioned Charles Ogletree, there was Randall Robinson, Malcolm X, Queen Mother Audley Moore, Mari Bubakari Obadeli, Chuck Williams. I mean, the list goes on and on of folk who were talking about and struggling for reparations, who did not go along with the policies and practices of the United States, and was really trying to let the world know that, what our rights are. And many of us don't go along with the okie doke of this country. And so that is what I see really needs to happen, really clarify before the world community that we have a right to self-determination. And if you would like, I can explain, in my humble opinion, what I feel that means.
Since we're there, let's do it. Yeah, since you just said it, let's do it.
Okay, so after the Civil War in 1865 recognized our rights as human beings, okay, we were essentially left with several options as to a political future. But what happened was 2.5 years later in 1868, the 14th Amendment was passed that basically said you've got to be a citizen of the United States. And that absolutely was and should have been and is an option, but it should come with our informed consent. There were other options as well. We had the right to repatriate back to Africa for those who wanted to, not to jump in the ocean and swim naked. But reparations, comprehensive reparations to seek to restore what of their African personality that had been lost. We had a right to go somewhere else. Haiti had recently become independent. We had family members in the Caribbean. I mean, all over the place. That was a right. We had a right to accept the offer of U.S. citizenship and strive to make a multiracial democracy real with full citizenship rights, not, 250 years later to still have to be struggling for the right to vote and all like that. But we also had a right to negotiate with the native peoples of this land and establish an independent black nation right here on this soil. And I submit, and many who believe along the lines I do, that those options as to a political future still rest down to this day and should be one of the aims of a reparations settlement. And I say settlement because no amount of monetary or any other type of compensation or changes in policies and practices, no amount can ever fully compensate us for what we have been through. I always say, Dominique, that the harms from the enslavement era and beyond were multifaceted. Thus, the remedies must be multifaceted as well, and that a reparations settlement can and should come in as many forms as necessary to appropriately address the harms that we've been through. And yes, that includes cash. Absolutely and completely. It definitely includes cash. But it also includes changes in policies and practices. It includes, corrected textbooks. It includes monuments and museums. It includes so many aspects. Multifaceted harms, multifaceted remedies, and self-determination, I feel, is among those as well.
Yeah, I mean, we only have a minute until news, traffic, and sports, so it wouldn't be fair for me to ask you this question and expect you to answer it right here. But let me lay out what I'm talking about. One, and I'm sure you are very familiar with this as a Pan-Africanist, and quiet as it's kept, or maybe not quiet as it's kept, I also consider myself a Pan-Africanist. But there are people, and I'll cite folks like Tariq Nasheed or people in the certain elements within the FBA, ADOS community that feel that African people want to come and take our reparations, that Caribbean people want to come and take what is due to American freedmen. And I wonder if this resolution and the way it was laid out by the Ghanaian president, if this puts some of that fear and mis or disinformation or theoretical worry to rest, and if so, how? We'll address that and more with attorney Nkechi Taifa when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to here with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Following Pam Bondi's ouster, some Republicans want the next Attorney General to move fast. Texas Congressman Chip Roy is one of them.
The next person who's heading the Department of Justice has got to be aggressive. We have a limited period right now with President Trump in the White House.
He's calling for action on the Epstein files, investigations into Antifa, and a probe of former CIA Director John Brennan. A federal lawsuit is challenging the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation's scholarship program, arguing its focus on black students violates civil rights law. The case could force the program to adopt race-neutral rules, raising broader questions about efforts to address inequality. And rapper Pooh Shiesty is facing serious charges after federal authorities say he helped orchestrate an armed robbery and kidnapping involving rapper Gucci Mane at a Dallas studio. 8 suspects have been arrested, including his dad. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is this the tackle? This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
It was a rough night Thursday for both of LA's NBA teams. It was really rough for the Lakers, who almost suffered the worst loss in franchise history. The Lakers lost by 43 at Oklahoma City. The worst defeat by a Lakers team is a 49-point loss to Dallas in 2017. On top of that, Luka Doncic hurt his hamstring again. The NBA's leading scorer went down in the third quarter and did not return. The Lakers scheduled an MRI exam for Doncic today. San Antonio gave MVP candidate Victor Wembanyama the night off, and they still dominated the Clippers 118-99. 11 straight win for the Spurs. It's a revenge game tonight in Phoenix for the UCLA women's basketball team in the Final Four. UCLA takes on Texas, the only team to beat the Bruins this season. The Bruins lost to Texas 76-65 on November 26th in a tournament in Las Vegas. 6:30 tip-off tonight on ESPN. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
There's no championship league for small business owners, but if there was, you'd be at the top of the standings. Because going pro with Lenovo Pro means you've got the winning formation, one-on-one advice, IT solutions, and customized hardware powered by Intel Core Ultra processors help you stay ahead of the competition. Business goes pro with Lenovo Pro. Sign up for free at lenovo.com/pro.
Lenovo.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter.
Paid for by government. The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full-pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guarantee. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
My perfect day has sand, salt water, and friends. But my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis can take me out of the moment. Now I'm all in with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi. Risankizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, most people saw 90% clearer skin, and many were even 100% plaque-free at 4 months. Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions, increased infections, or lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, get checked for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor about any flu-like symptoms or vaccines.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Ask your doctor about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist-prescribed biologic in psoriasis. Visit Skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKYRIZI to learn more.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
You know, the goal of the Freedmen Friday is for us to all get smarter about reparations, to understand this momentum that Attorney Nkechi Taifa is talking about, not just in the United States, but all around the world, and for us to be part of the solution, part of that momentum. The guest today, Attorney Nkechi Taifa, has a long history of working on this issue. And she has a book, Reparations on Fire, How and Why It's Spreading Across America. So if you want to be smarter on reparations, just assign that to yourself as your homework on this Freedmen Friday. Attorney Taifa, I queued it up before the break because I think there's been some confusion and perhaps some disagreement about CARICOM and the African EU and other individual African nations' role in reparations. And some folks feel that they are trying to get money or get benefits, mules and acres or whatever that might be, that are really due to American black descendants of enslaved persons.
Okay, thank you for the question. And yes, I'm going to make my response in 3 aspects. Number one, first of all, I just want to make sure we all know and realize that we are not a monolithic people. We don't walk in lockstep. We all have differing views and differing opinions. That's all people do. But when those opinions devolve into what I call the 3 Ds, disrespect, disruption, and death threats, there is a problem. When it is said that people are coming to take our reparations, the first thing I want to know, and like I said, I've been working this for a long time, and where is the lobby from people who have come over here talking about taking our reparations. Okay, where are they on the talk shows talking about that they are coming to take our reparations? This is like a made-up fantasy. It seems to be. Number three, what I think we ought to be doing for those who might have opinions along those lines, or even this declaration makes clear, what I think we ought to be doing is reaching out and using our social media influences and all like that against the European countries that were involved in the transatlantic trafficking of human beings that resulted of us being on these shores. Like, you know, I don't hear that. Why is it that there seems to be so much energy with respect to later days, shall we say, people from Africa or the Caribbean who are living here? I'm talking about taking our reparations. In fact, the whole declaration dealing with the gravest crime against humanity, okay, was, talking about the transatlantic, talking about the European nations, talking about the United States, but it is against those nations, those countries of which I have never heard the social media influencers in this country saying that we need to be going over there talking about them giving us reparations, not just the United States. The United States was not the only culpable party relating to black folk on this soil. Okay, but I have not heard, and maybe it's just I haven't heard because I'm not all on social media. My apologies. But I would like to hear that from people who have large platforms, okay, because we might be able to come to some real unified positions with respect to what is owed to us from the UK, from the European Union, from Portugal, from Spain. What is owed to us in addition to what the United States owes to us? What is owed to us from abroad? I think that's one of the things that, in my humble opinion, the declaration of the gravest crime, makes clear. So that's all I want to say about that. I want to stop the disruption. I want to stop the disrespect. I want to stop the death threats. That's what needs to start.
I mean, I also feel like the declaration should make that really clear because it's put forth by the Ghanaian president, and the Ghanaian president does not say anything about and 10% goes to Ghana. Like there's nothing in there about that. It's laying out very clearly. It goes into the history of all the times that the UN and other bodies have promised to fix this, why this is part of the mission of the United Nations, why it's the gravest, and it calls on countries to seek reparatory measures. So I think the way that it's put forth and the language of the actual resolution itself debunks that concern.
I agree 100%, and I'm not quite sure if the concern is a real legitimate concern, though, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, I mean, I heard you. I definitely heard you loud and clear. I mean, the issue of ops or, paid dividers within our ranks is a real thing. You know, COINTELPRO is not something that just went away. Nothing
new, and it's still here. Yeah.
So I hear that, but for those who are actually sincerely concerned, that's who I'm addressing.
And there are people who are sincerely concerned. That's why I started out saying that we're not a monolithic people. There are people who are very sincerely, and that's where education comes. That's where healing ourselves from this trauma that we've been subjected to, healing ourselves from hating ourselves and the educational system we've lived under that teaches us to distrust other people that look like us. We need some internal healing.
Yeah, that's part. That's our part. That's our part of the reparation, right? Molly Bell is asking where she can read the full resolution. I found it at docs.un.org. And it's, but you could Google it. Maybe I'll put up a link on my social media.
That would be great if you could. Yeah, this should be taught in the schools. This needs to be all out on social media.
I mean, I feel like if you're having a bad day, you should read this because it really cheered me up so much when I read it. I felt, and I'm wondering what you think about this from a legal perspective and a symbolic perspective. It felt like Ghana, and as you point out, it's really the whole African Union, right? But it felt like Ghana was standing with Black Americans and Africa's children all over the diaspora in the way that you would expect, China to back up Chinese Americans, or, you know what I'm saying, or Ireland to back up Irish Americans.
Yes, and I think that that process is even escalating, okay? And when you say busy, what am I doing busy? I mean, trying to consolidate more our international connections, getting to know our brothers and sisters across the globe, our brothers and sisters in the UK, our brothers and sisters in Brazil, in Colombia, and all the different parts of the continent, in Cuba, and that is an area where few of us have really been. And I think that this declaration really opens the door wide for that type of interaction and camaraderie to happen and occur. And, it also, talks about, again, this was a global crime. And so the remedy must be global as well. It's not just the United States. I mean, it's a huge part of it was here. But for us here, the global community also, those European nations owe us as well. And that hasn't been articulated as loudly as it could and should be.
Yeah, we're dealing with our own government. That's very true. And of course, it's worth noting, in case you hadn't noticed, and I'm talking to our KBLA delegation, that the folks who abstained are mostly the folks that benefited from enslaving us and became enriched. And the folks that voted against the United States, well, I don't know how to place Israel in that other than their politics, Argentina, their politics. But the United States, of course, would not be the superpower that it is today without the wealth generated by our unpaid labor.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then to hear Trump talking about reparations for the January 6th insurrectionists on the U.S. Capitol. He actually called for reparations. They are calling for reparations for the harm that they feel that was done to them. I mean, I'm just saying, it's so ludicrous. And the knowledge also that reparations were in fact paid in the United States after the abolition of slavery. They just weren't paid to us. They were paid to the former white slave owners, the same as in England, to the former white slave owners, and Haiti. Haiti, in terms of the Haiti had to pay reparations to French. Those reparations went on all the way down through 1947. And England, those reparations to the former white enslavers went on all the way down through 2000, I forgot what it was, 25. 2000, recent is what I'm saying. I don't remember the exact date right now. But we don't know these things, and so.
Yeah, so just further clarity on this. Yes, absolutely. And you're dropping a lot of it, so I appreciate that. But one of the confusions, I think, is people don't, or maybe they do realize, but if you don't, that when you talk about CARICOM, when we talk about Jamaica seeking reparations, or Barbados, or, these Caribbean countries, they are seeking it from England or whatever country, Haiti should get reparations from France. They're seeking the reparations from whoever enslaved the persons.
From their colonizers.
Right, from their colonizers. Absolutely.
Yes.
So to that point, Amnita's saying in the chat here on YouTube that we need to, well, she says you need to, so I don't know if she's talking to me or you, but to go to those governments and stake your claim, meaning going to European nations who also benefited from the enslaving of folks here in the United States. That seems a little bit trickier to sort of sort out, but will that happen? Can that happen?
But actually, Dominique, that's really kind of what I was saying. We are seeking reparations from the government that we live under, the United States, but we also should have claims against European countries, and this has not been legally. I have not seen yet a huge pushes towards that.
Right.
That's why I was saying the ADOS and FDAs. If they, I mean, I'm surprised that I haven't heard them talking about that, because that's an area where I think there needs to be some legal scholarship. There needs to be some historical documentation. I mean, it might be there, but I haven't heard it out there in the public discourse. And that's an area that I know I'm going to start looking at, because in addition to demanding amends from this government that we are subjected to right now, we do have, in my humble opinion, legitimate claims, to the European nations. So this is the first time I've even articulated this on your show, Dominique. I'm just saying.
Yay.
And this declaration made it starkly clear to me.
Yeah, well, I'm just trying to figure out how you track it. I mean, we also haven't even really thoroughly started unpacking what corporations owe, right? These insurance companies, these shipping companies, all these people that benefited. We're starting to see it a little bit with religious and educational institutions, but we haven't really seen it in the corporate space yet.
Well, let me just say that my colleague, Attorney Deidre Farmer-Pellman, did a lot of research and litigation on this very issue dealing with corporate involvement in the enslavement. Years ago, the cases were thrown out of court, but I would say she's one of the foremost experts in this country with respect to the corporate involvement. And even though the cases were thrown out, it's still very legitimate. And as we build upon what's already there. Okay, and just as the Pan-African Lawyers Union really helped to craft the underpinnings of the declaration that was overwhelmingly voted on by the United Nations, we need lawyers in this country. It's the National Conference of Black Lawyers. It's the Ogletree Reparations Bar Association, a new entity. There's a National Bar Association. We need to really come together and look at some of the legal underpinnings in terms of additional claims that we might have and should have, across the globe, and work in tandem with our counterparts in the African Union and CARICOM. Not work against them, not engage in internecine strife, but work in tandem so that we can all get, our just due.
Attorney Nkechi Taifa is our guest, and we're talking reparations like we do every Friday at this time on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
My. I'm very appreciative to Attorney Nkechi Taifa for spending the hour with us when she's having a busy post-resolution life. But I wish I had 2 more hours because I got a lot of questions. Let's circle back to the beginning here. The UN General Assembly, which is the whole big UN body, passed a resolution proclaiming the transatlantic slave trade, the trading of our ancestors, to be the gravest crime against humanity. What are the legal implications of that? How does that bolster or change things for the reparations movement, for individual countries and overall big picture legally?
Well, I just say that it stands as a mechanism, something that can be used in litigation. There's litigation going on right now all over the world, with respect to this issue. So this just helps to prompt up the claims that are in part of the cases. Another step might be the International Court of Justice. I mean, it opens up many, many doors and many, many avenues for further conversation and ultimately resolution on this issue. I just want to conclude by saying, if I may, because I just really, really want to say this, that we really have got to, for those of us who are sincere and not U.S. government agents, we really need to stop fighting each other. We really do. We really need to come together, okay? Because we're just undermining our own efforts. And I'm just putting the appeal out there on Freedom Fridays. Let's stop fighting each other, please. This is a huge opportunity. Whenever have we gotten an overwhelming vote like that on an issue of this magnitude? We as a people globally are strong. The 54-member African Union region is the largest voting bloc in the United Nations. The Global South stood firm on this issue. Where are we? We need to stop fighting. We need to all come together here nationally as well as globally.
What do you say to folks, and there's at least one in my chat, who say that Ghana and other African nations owe reparations themselves for the ways that they profited off the transatlantic slave trade?
Yeah, so that's a conversation that needs to be had. Okay, but right now I'm focused on the gravest crime.
Right.
Okay, not complicity. There was complicity. There's no question about it. Just like we got folks selling drugs to people. That doesn't mean you're throwing the whole baby out with the bath water. There's so much documentation in terms of reasons why, how we would, so who knew what, when what pressures people were under. I don't even need to go into that right now. Okay, because that's not we're dealing with the gravest crime right now. I'm dealing with the pinnacle right now, not the little penny annies. But it is a conversation that needs to be had. It's not the conversation I need to lead with right now, but it is a legitimate conversation, absolutely.
So when we talk about the UN resolution naming our enslavement the gravest crime against humanity, I've had the same reaction as you. I mean, I agree it is the gravest, but I didn't expect all these folks to go along with that, and they have. How do we, you said put it out on social media, you said talk about it, but how do we follow up on this? How do we push the line, hold the line, and continue to, even in these grave Trumpian times, we see the momentum has not stopped. So how do we be part of that momentum?
So one of the things my organization, Reparation Education Project, is about to advance is a massive sign-on letter amongst organizations that are part of the reparations ecosystem. Because, I mean, I'm just saying, Ghana, the rest of the African Union, CARICOM and all, they see the big names. They know about Al Sharpton, they know about Ben Crump, they know about NAACP, okay? They know about Congressional Black Caucus, but they don't know about this huge ecosystem of reparations organizations and activists across the country who have been calling for this issue, have been mobilized, have been agitating, educating, and organizing. And so be on the lookout. There's going to be a massive request for people to sign on to a letter that will go to the African Union, will go to CARICOM, will go to our brothers and sisters who are in the UK, will go to South America, in the like. And so that they see that this is a grassroots movement. It's not just the big names, okay? And that a lot is happening across this country, 5 states. nearly 80 jurisdictions have established reparations commissions and task forces in their own backyards seeking to uncover all this stuff. All this is while we're awaiting action by the federal government. So that's the next step. And that's what I'm in the Reparation Education Project is in the process of working on.
Attorney Taifa, does this fuel even more programs within the African continent that are offering citizenship to Black Americans? Because it does seem like there's a lot of momentum there. Kenya, Ghana, Tanzania, and others.
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel that when people talk about, okay, what does Africa owe us? Well, yeah, there should be unfettered citizenship. There should be unfettered visas, all of the like. We need to come up with a menu of different reparatory justice type of mechanisms that can be used across the globe. So, yes, I do submit that we probably will see, and rightfully so, an increase in that.
You know what? That's funny. You're the first person I've heard say that, because I've had that in my mind. Black Americans or Africa's children who are trafficked throughout the diaspora should have an all-Africa passport. We should get a pass. That's part of the repair for us. Just give us a pass. Yeah. We can go look for our ancestors in any of Africa's 54 nations. Nkechi Taifa, attorney and author and scholar, we've got 60 seconds. What will you leave us with this morning?
So I just want to leave your listeners with that saying that what we're seeing now in this country and across the globe, the fruit that we see today, it emanated from historic seeds that were planted and watered for generations. I said that reparations is no longer a stretch of the imagination, nor is it an unobtainable goal, but it is very likely a reality and achievable in our lifetime.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Attorney Nkechi Taifa, thank you for all the work that you are doing, and thank you so much for spending your morning with us today.
Thank you for inviting me, having me back.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I told you it was a busy, wonderful, and great day today. Well, we've got a couple of twins from Memphis, Tennessee joining us in the studio next. The pop, soul, R&B sensation and privilege joins me after news, traffic, and sports, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Following Pam Bondi's ouster, some Republicans want the next Attorney General to move fast. Texas Congressman Chip Roy is one of them.
The next person who's heading the Department of Justice has got to be aggressive. We have a limited period right now with President Trump in the White House.
He's calling for action on the Epstein files, investigations into Antifa, and a probe